It's entertainment designed to keep the masses happy, as the masses are robbed of God-given rights and freedoms. That's why the NFL refuses to defend itself from allegations of racism. The NFL is a willing participant in the overthrow of American values.
Tom Brady's latest remarks have exploded into a major storm, dragging the NFL's darkest secrets back into public view. His words about black quarterbacks ripped open old wounds, reviving a debate many believed was already dead. This fire has now fueled new arguments about racism and bias inside the league, as people ask why this same problem keeps coming back. If Tom Brady, a legend who built his name in the NFL, is saying this out loud, then what are the billionaire owners hiding in private? Could their behavior be even worse? These are the uncomfortable questions we can't keep avoiding.
We didn't have to file a lawsuit for the world to know that there's a problem from a hiring standpoint in regards to minority coaches in the National Football League. The numbers speak for themselves.
Black players are judged on the field. The league keeps defending itself, insisting it's putting policies in place to stay relevant in the media and keep its stock prices climbing, but most of these moves backfire. Look at last year's Super Bowl, where they deliberately erased any mention of racism from the touchdown line. The message was loud and clear. At one of the biggest events in sports, with Donald Trump and top investors watching, the NFL had a chance to confront injustice head-on. Instead, they chose silence and sent a completely different signal.
According to reports this week, the NFL is going to remove the words "end racism" from the end zone during the Super Bowl this Sunday. And I know that sounds so shocking that you think it can't be real, but...
Reports claim the Trump administration may have pushed the NFL to erase that message, forcing a bigger question. What is the true worth of the sport if it caves in to political power that doesn't care about real issues? Bill Maher argued that while the orders looked tied to Trump's team, the real push came from the NFL's own billionaire owners, who were desperate to make the change. Even more shocking, Maher openly backed the decision, but a black player immediately called him out, exposing the hidden racism in his defense and tearing apart his weak excuse.
But I think it's an asshole to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write "don't be an asshole" in the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
As the firestorm grew, more players started exposing the racism inside the league. When asked if locker rooms were racist, they didn't hesitate, saying flat out that racism is everywhere in those spaces. One NFL player even admitted that while fans see the locker room as a sacred brotherhood, the truth is that behind those doors, racism is alive and thriving. The worst part is, the victims can't speak up, because doing so could destroy their careers overnight. It's the ultimate trap. Stay silent and keep playing, or speak out and let the media twist the story, painting them as the problem and crushing their reputation forever.
Is it racism inside of the locker room?
The one sacred place that you think you have is the locker room. There's a lot of things that go on inside that, you know, the outside world isn't privy to. A lot of conversations. But does racism exist in the locker room?
To protect their careers, many black players feel forced to deny that racism even exists in the NFL. Some even go so far as to claim the league is the least racist institution in America. And this isn't just talk. Look at Cam Ward, the #1 draft pick. He flat out said that every kid grows up dreaming of reaching the NFL, no matter how brutal the path is. Racism or not, the league is still seen as the ultimate prize. Ward's words expose the harsh truth. For many players, chasing the dream of NFL glory is more important than risking everything by standing up to the deep-rooted racism running through the league. But racism can completely derail careers, and Shedeur Sanders is living proof. Once predicted to be a top pick, maybe even first or second overall in the draft, he shockingly slipped all the way to the 5th round. Now he's struggling just to hold his spot in the league. The disturbing part? He didn't do anything wrong. His only crime was being a black quarterback who dared to be flashy, confident, and different. For critics, his swagger became the problem, a brutal reminder of how black players constantly face barriers, where their raw talent gets buried under prejudice simply because they refuse to fit into the box the NFL wants to keep them in. Even Cam Ward called it out, admitting the NFL was pushing a false narrative against Shedeur Sanders, the same way they did to him years back. Ward exposed how the league and its media machine love to create negative storylines around players who refuse to fit the mold, especially when they dare to challenge the status quo. He stressed that Shedeur, just like himself, was being dragged through the mud, with the media twisting his image and burying his talent, all because of his confidence, his style, and the fact that he's a black quarterback who refuses to bow down.
quarterback coach when we first got to college. Then he's always been, just a great person to be around. A lot of stuff out there on him ain't really, the truth. Just because they spin it different ways, like they spin stuff about me different ways. But I mean, I've always thought he was a productive quarterback.
Now Tom Brady's attack on black quarterbacks who show self-expression proves that racism is still deeply rooted in the NFL. He tried to sugarcoat his comments by saying celebrations should be team-focused, but his shots at self-branding and individuality exposed something much darker. His words revealed a clear bias, showing zero respect for players who embrace their personalities and build their own brand, especially when those players are black. The reality is undeniable. Brady's stance isn't just about celebrations, it's a mirror of the larger racial problem that still poisons the entire league. In the end, the NFL is once again being unmasked for its deep, ugly history of racism, as new events keep exposing the systemic battles black players are forced to fight. Tom Brady's comments, combined with the struggle and controlled, leaving players like Cam Ward and Sanders to pay the price simply for being bold, outspoken, and unapologetically themselves. The NFL's desperate attempts to bury this narrative, from scrubbing racism out of major events like the Super Bowl to pressuring black players into denying their own reality, are finally blowing up in its face. These moves, meant to protect the league's shiny image, have instead exposed its blatant hypocrisy. The NFL's non-stop effort to silence the truth and shut down voices calling out racism is collapsing, and the public is now seeing just how deep the problem runs. The league may keep bragging about its so-called commitment to diversity and inclusion, but the endless cycle of bias and discrimination is far too obvious to ignore. The voices of players, the media, and the public are demanding change, forcing the NFL to finally face the ugly truth it has tried to bury for decades. As more players step forward with their stories, it's becoming clear that the league's desperate attempts to silence them are only making the racism harder to hide. The fight for real equality in the NFL is far from finished, and this battle is only beginning to heat up. So let's ask the hard questions. Is the NFL honestly doing anything to fix its racism problem, or just putting on a fake show to protect its image? How long will players keep their mouths shut just to save their careers? And when will someone finally force this league to change for real? The NFL's racism can't stay hidden forever. Change is coming. Stay tuned, subscribe now, and be part of exposing the truth.